In today's note, we're going to be introducing the biology unit, and we're going to be looking at sustainable ecosystems as our biology focus. So just as an introduction, biology literally means the study of life. Bio means life, and ology just means the study of. So therefore, biology is the science that seeks to explain the living world. Here we have an organization of different structures and kind of a hierarchy or classification system in terms of kind of like a cell. Group of cell builds up into tissues. Group of tissues form organs. Organs form organ systems, and so on and so on and so on. Basically anything in terms of the kind of like the living world. Ecology focuses on this section. Ecology focuses on the organisms, individual organisms, the populations they form, the communities they form, the biomes they form, and finally the biospheres that they're in. And we're going to take a look at some of the biospheres of the biospheres in this note. Ecology can be broken down into two different categories, looking at abiotic factors, which means non-living, such as rocks, soil, water, air, and biotic, which means living things, such as bacteria, fungi, plants, animals, insects. Again, remember bio means living, so biotic is the living factor, abiotic is the opposite of that, so non-living. And so those are the two branches or kind of two factors that go into ecology. So just looking at some definitions that we may be covering or going across just so we understand what we're talking about. Ecosystem. An ecosystem is all interacting parts of a biological community and its environment. Abiotic, again, we just mentioned that, the non-living parts of the environment. So water and the elements like earth or ground, wind, stuff like that. Biotic, the living parts of the environment. So again, the plants, animals, bacteria, insects, anything that's considered living is biotic. Environment means all living and non-living things on Earth. So if we talk about the environment, it's everything, all abiotic and biotic factors. Biodiversity is the number of different types of organisms in one area. So it's not the number of organisms, it's the number of different types. So if you have a high biodiversity in an area, that means there's lots of different types of organisms, not just one. Sustainability is the ability for a population of organisms to continue to live, to interact, and to reproduce indefinitely. So if an area has a high sustainability, that means a certain group of organisms or a population of organisms could live there and basically survive there for a long period of time. Stewardship. So stewardship is a way of acting that involves taking personal responsibility or management of some things. So in terms of ecology, stewardship would be more about ensuring that the environment is, I guess, for lack of a better, environment's good, it's strong, right? Think of Earth Day, right? We're trying to protect the environment. So stewardship would be a way that we can act to ensure that the environment survives. So we talked a bit about the different categories or the structure of things in biology, going from cells up to biospheres. So we're going to look at some of the biosphere, or not some of, we're going to look at the biospheres of the Earth. So the area near the surface of the Earth can be divided into 4 interconnected geospheres. So basically it's just, again, an organization of different things. And we're going to look at 4 of them. So here we can see the spheres of the Earth. So it's not literally a sphere going around the Earth. In some cases it may be, but in some cases it's not. But it's just categories or groupings. So we have the atmosphere, we have the biosphere, we have the hydrosphere, and we have the lithosphere. So again, these are just the 4 categories that we're going to look at. And you can see kind of a summary here. So lithosphere, litho is a Greek word meaning stone. So lithosphere is going to be focusing on the rocky crust covering the planet. So again, you think of the ground, the earth, right? It's composed of minerals, minerals and the elements that we've talked about in previous units. Here is a cross section of the entire Earth's crust. You can see though that the lithosphere is not all of the Earth, right? It's just the upper part. So it's just this little part here. It's just so it's the crust and the uppermost solid mantle. That's what the lithosphere is. And again, you think about that's the main thing that organisms are going to interact with. Anything further, and you're not going to find organisms any lower than that, really. The hydrosphere. So hydro is Greek for water. So this is going to, or the hydrosphere is basically all water near or on Earth. So anything with water, all the water, lakes, rivers, oceans, and so on, that is all considered the hydrosphere. Right, so it again includes all lakes, rivers, and even the moisture in the air. Right, so if you think of places that are have a high level of moisture or very humid, or even if they're very dry in the air, that all still contains or pertains to the hydrosphere. And just as a fun fact, 97% of the Earth's water is in its oceans. So this is just an overview. This is technically the water cycle, and we'll touch on that in a later note. But this is just all the areas of where water or the hydrosphere may occur, right? So we have our oceans, we have our rivers, we have our lakes, we have the precipitation, so the moisture in the air. We have water that's in the ground, right? So just an overview of where we can find water. Biosphere, again, bio is the Greek word for life. So the biosphere is the sphere that contains all living organisms. So again, that goes looking at the bacteria, insects, fungi, plants, animals, right? All those living organisms are in the biosphere. And it's very thin compared to other spheres. So in terms of how much it actually contains, it's very thin, right? Living organisms only take up a small part of the entire thing, right? Compared to the atmosphere, which we'll talk about next, the lithosphere and the hydrosphere. So again, plants, animals, and one-celled organisms are all part of the biosphere. So this is just an overview of the biosphere. The numbers that you see are numbers of species of each different group, but again, they're all considered part of the biosphere. You can see insects make up a very large part of that, almost half. So almost half of all the biosphere is, or in terms of species anyways, are insects. And I'm sure you may have heard that fact before. But again, it's just a breakdown of all the different things. So we may see, like again, plants, insects, animals or all other animals, fungi. We see algae and protozoa. So these are just kind of one-celled organisms. Same with the bacteria and viruses in there. Atmosphere is the last one. So atmos is the Greek word for air. So the atmosphere is the body of air that surrounds our planet. The air around our planet is 78% nitrogen and 21% oxygen, and the remaining percent is made up of other gases. So you may have come across those facts again when we were looking at the elements in our chemistry unit. And the atmosphere, the main thing it does, it helps to moderate surface temperature and block incoming solar radiation. So you've heard of like the ozone layer and greenhouse gases and UV rays and stuff like that. So that's what the atmosphere helps to do. It helps to moderate the surface temperature, so make sure that we're not kind of boiling, and it blocks solar radiation. So again, those UV rays. So this is just a breakdown of the atmosphere. You can see different levels of it. We're not going to get into those levels too much, but again, you can kind of see the different levels in terms of the altitude and what kind of exists in each spot. So again, just an overview of what we're dealing with when we're talking about the atmosphere. And that's going to be it for this note. Just again, overview of some definitions and looking at the 4 different spheres or biospheres. on Earth.